Hi everybody, I'm Zdravko, also known as Z from Outbound. As you might know, last year we published the first ever State of IT Sales in Bulgaria report with the goal to see how COVID and changes that originated from the pandemic affected the tech sector, especially the business side of tech companies. So some interesting insights came out of this survey, which you can find in the report we have created. It's accessible on our website, but I can add it also below this video, so we can check things up. So to see how 2020 was for specific companies, and was there a positive trend since the start of this, I invited Andrey Bankovski, Director of Business Development and Payhawk at Payhawk. The company lets you issue corporate cards for your employees, manage invoices, and track payments from a single interface. They have been showing a tremendous growth, and I believe it's one of the tech companies and startups that shows great promise for global success, which we're all aiming for and all wishing for. Andrei here is one of the key players to push this forward, and I'm sure today will be interesting. So, hi Andrei, and thanks for having the time for today's talk.
Of course, Rafko, thank you very much for having me. I always like to work with you guys and discuss interesting topics. And keeping in mind, we've known each other for so many years now. It's a pleasure, of course, to I don't know to present our input, let's say, and I hope it's just useful for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Can you share shortly about you and the company, so whoever doesn't know you and doesn't know the company can get the context?
So obviously the name is Andrey. I'm as I like to call, I'm the sales guy at Payhawk. Just simply put like that. Our company, we basically try to be a one-stop shop for expense management for companies, meaning combine all types of expenses into one single platform, very customizable, A to Z, fully integrated solution, basically to support bank payments for companies, card payments, reimbursables, and cash as well. So everything in one place, seamlessly integrated with accounting systems, and basically having Payhawk as a layer on top of your bank, so you can just use us for the user experience and yeah, for the ease of use, to be honest, because we know how banks are, right? I mean, it's terrible. So that's pretty much it on my end. Personally, I've been in sales for quite some time now. I'm with Payhawk since the very beginning. We launched in 2018. It was late summer, early autumn that we started. I was the first kind of let's say business guy. Let's just put it like that. And yeah, and since then it's been a hell of a ride, to be honest. Last year, interesting. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, the past 3 years, very dynamic, very hectic.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, something we saw that last year was challenging for most company. Based on the report we made on this survey, 44% of all participants showed either like loss of revenue or at least managed to remain on the same level. Having in mind that product companies were a bit different, we dug deeper into the findings and we saw that they were on the other end. 73% of all product companies actually saw increase. So for me, it's interesting to understand, like, what is the biggest difficulty for your business, for Payhawk, in terms of sales and your pipeline in 2020? And was there also a positive side of things after March last year?
Yeah, so for us, actually, 2020 was very, very interesting because at the end of the year, we've shown pretty amazing results. We grew, I think, 10 times, something like that, which was awesome. But at the same time, it was very challenging. First of all, because one of the major use cases that we cover is traveling. And obviously, traveling was banned. Like, I mean, business travel basically disappeared. And this was one of our major use cases gone, vanished, like simple as that. And this is when actually we decided to shift a bit the offering, and we basically took on the wave of let's go digital, because now everybody as we are conversing on Zoom, for example, everybody started realizing that you don't really need to physically go somewhere to do something, and you can use a digital solution for that. And exactly that's why our solution actually became super interesting for companies, because now everybody was at home, but you still need to give a card to that person because they need to buy, let's say, the Zoom license, for example, or I don't know, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, whatever. Meaning that now with our solution, obviously they had the super easy way to to basically distribute payment instruments to their employees and empower them, while obviously everybody's at home, nobody's at the office. You cannot go to the bank branch because the manager needs to approve that or whatever. So basically we tried to go, let's say, on this digital wave that we saw last year, right? And it was challenging, definitely, because we basically started pushing such campaigns, obviously, for how should I say, dislocated companies and like different offices, many branches, many people, and so on. So this was interesting. And from you asked me regarding the what we did, right, in order to change that. Yeah.
How did you alter or like adjust the approach towards new sales and especially digital sales?
Well, what we did was actually 2020 was a pivotal year for us, because this is the year that we actually started growing the sales team in general. Before, I would say, let's say Q3, we started with that. We hired actually the first sales guys for abroad. So we hired a German manual holder who is now heading our German office, and we hired Inigo Aguirre, who is heading our Spanish office. And this is when we actually started heavily on the outbound as well. I mean, to be honest, before expanding the team, the main source of leads, to be honest, was the inbound. And then outbound was simply personal network. And we obviously experimented a bit with different channels such as LinkedIn. But in essence, it was mainly inbound. And this is when we realized, obviously, that we also wanted to target bigger organizations, because the bigger the organization, the bigger the problem. And in that sense, we realized that obviously, if you want to make an enterprise sale, you need to have an outbound effort with, obviously a high touch sale with a bit of a longer sales life cycle. That's fine. But we knew that in order to grow, we need to actually have bigger clients, bigger average deal size, and long-term commitments as well. So in that sense, this was a pivotal year for us.
Yeah. So should I understand that you have a Spanish native and a German speaker
Yes.
for these markets, and everything else is done within Sofia in English, or how?
So yeah, the official language of the company obviously is English. We have now the active offices. We have Sofia as the main hub, I would say, where we have the most talent is based in Sofia. We have the software development team here, all of it, and then from the business side, we have in Germany now, we have Manuel, as I mentioned, who is our sales director there. We have a customer success person native as well in Berlin, with Manuel working there. And we have our head of marketing also in Berlin. And second person in the marketing team is also, but she's in Munich. Mm-hmm. And we have Inigo, as I mentioned, as the sales director in Barcelona, and BDR also located in Barcelona. So that's pretty much the setup, and the rest is here in Sofia. We have here account executives, and now we're hiring BDRs. So basically expanding the team. And we have the UK office, which is under my command, but obviously I'm in Sofia. So we're also looking for an account executive in the UK as well.
Okay, so you're looking for somebody like native English-speaking person around UK. Okay.
I mean, to be honest, the good thing about UK is that it's not necessarily the person needs to be native. I mean,
living there, let's say that way, having the right accent and yeah.
Yeah, just being based there, to be honest, that's the only thing that matters, because now when obviously right now physical meetings are not really a thing. Yeah. But when hopefully things get back to normal, obviously we'll need a person on the ground there, being able to serve those customers. And of course, the UK is one of our key markets, because it's the most mature market when we discuss obviously the fintech topic.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's said to be like London is said to be the fintech capital of the world, but with the whole Brexit thing, we're gonna see what will happen there. So because there are a lot of contestant cities and regions for that.
Yeah, I mean, this was also challenging for us. Now that you mentioned the Brexit, actually one of the biggest content pieces we did as a lead generation campaign was actually on Brexit, exactly. And we saw, I don't know, I need to check the numbers, but we had like roughly around 3,000 downloads on that Brexit guide that we developed. So because we obviously in the fintech world, we prepared a white paper on, what companies need to know now from a financial perspective about Brexit. What's the VAT now, for example, or stuff like that. So actually, this was a massive surprise for me that this performed so well. And the other challenge for us was that now, obviously, with Brexit, we needed to have the license for the UK and then the license for the continental Europe, right?
Yeah,
In order to serve companies. But happily, we managed to do that.
that can be a competitive advantage, definitely. Something you mentioned was that you do inbound, outbound, and you mentioned content for lead generation. Something we saw in the survey we did, like in the report, is that also there's a partnership network and lead generation agencies and probably other channels that can be used. Like besides the inbound, outbound, and content as being part of inbound, do you also use something else in the process?
Yeah, so what we're going to hire maybe a person for the partnerships dedicated, but for now this is an effort that is being basically managed to depending on availability of a salesperson. But partnerships is something that we're definitely looking into. We actually 2020 was also the year of our first kind of, let's say, official partnership that we did with Travel Perk, which is I don't know if you know it. It's a relatively famous startup right now.
I think I saw the blog post you mentioned somewhere, so that's when I saw the company. Yeah,
they're based in Barcelona. They got like a massive series. I think it was Series B or something. A very, very cool company. However, obviously hit hard by the COVID pandemic, but still we launched the partnership and it's going rather well, I should say. So this is one thing we're looking into. We're having many conversations in the works right now. I cannot share those because we don't have anything explicit already, but definitely partnerships as a channel is something that we consider. And especially partnerships where I can say these though. For example, we're being contacted by many accounting agencies, for example, from the UK, who are willing to, innovate and promote something meaningful to their customers. And Payhawk is such a solution. So I'm having conversations with a lot of those. Actually, we're having interesting conversations with companies from the UK and Estonia, which offer company formation services. So, for example, you go, let's say, to set up a company in Estonia, which obviously happens online, super easy. And actually, as a natural next step, such a company that's newly formed is looking for a finance solution as well, right? This is the natural next step. So these are, let's say, conversations we're having right now. So partnerships for sure. We're doing content marketing as well. This is actually something that we see as a really good channel. And of course, as I mentioned, I mean, we started expanding heavily on the outbound because the major deals that we closed last year and the beginning of this year were mainly outbound. Talking about let's say, the more, I would say the bigger, let's say, bigger clients in terms of the sheer size of the company, but also the usage as well.
And for outbound, out of curiosity, like, are you more focused on how to say it, only one channel, for example, LinkedIn, or do you use like multiple channels? And also, what is your opinion on virtual conferences?
So we didn't participate much, to be honest. I was invited to several of those, but I wasn't able to for actually personal reasons. But to be honest, even before the pandemic, I used to go a lot to conferences. We traveled, went to big events like, let's say, Web Summit and stuff like that. The thing is, I don't know, we even had invested in having a booth and stuff like that, and some materials and so on. But to be honest, I don't see that as very effective. Maybe we are not doing it right. That's, of course, an option. But to be honest, for us, in my experience, for Payhawk in general, conferences never worked well. And that is why actually outbound is something that I think will bring us to the next level. Meaning, in terms of the outreach strategies that you mentioned, we do obviously we use LinkedIn heavily because now you have many tools for automation and for stuff like that. Also, we are having email campaigns as well, cold calling campaigns. So basically, pretty much everything you can
Yeah.
think of we are using. And also, of course, we're using heavily our networks now, because we recently closed our Series A, which of course now is expanding a bit the network. And also, to be honest, something that was really curious for me, in 2020, we saw that expansion was actually one of the biggest things for us. So it was hard, obviously, attracting new customers, but actually expanding within the existing customer base was something really, really cool. So I can actually share some numbers. So I think our strongest month, I think last year was November, because we track our performance month over month. And so November was super successful for us, and we had, as far as I remember, like 40% of the all new net MRR was expansion. So, and then the rest was a mix between inbound and outbound.
And you have a team that is focusing on, how to say, success management and also account management within these accounts, right? Or do you do it by the SDRs themselves?
So it's a bit more complex than that, because obviously the team is growing like an.
I guess also, like, I don't know, like product managers are also included in this process.
Yes, they are. So generally, we have the process says something, but obviously it's a bit more dynamic than that. Because let's say with some clients that are legacy, where from the period where I was the only guy, there was no customer success, no other sales, no product managers, no nothing. I mean, the whole communication was through me, and that's why, for example, with these customers, I'm still handling them. But in general, now we have our customer success team, and they're monitoring the health of each customer at all times, and we're also doing transaction monitoring and growth within each customer. So we actually can see when there's a trend. Let's say if they're transacting more, if they're adding more users, this is a clear sign that obviously there is an upsell potential there. And also we have our product managers involved in pretty much every, not every deal, but let's say I would say 70% of the deals, because their feedback for us is very important. So they really do find the time to actually check that feedback, and if something is valuable, obviously to assist and add it in the product roadmap as well. So right now, generally the process is, yes, we have a customer success team, but still you have salespeople involved in the process, working, I would say, as account managers, which is of course something different, but you need to combine different activities right now. So in that sense, the process is getting clearer and clearer, but we're getting there.
Okay, and maybe one last question for me. How do you see the sales role and the business development role within Payhawk, and also like how do you see it for the tech industry in the upcoming 1-2 years?
I mean, in general, because I'll answer in a more complex way. Let's say I was working years ago as a super traditional sales guy. I was selling fertilizers and industrial chemicals. And for example, if you put that sales role into the shoes of the Payhawk, let's say, sales guy, these are completely different things. I mean, now in the tech world, you need to be very versatile. You need to be able to do a lot of things at the same time. And also you need to understand technology as well. Meaning, really, you need to be very savvy. You need to be very keen to non-stop learn more and improve yourself, because the thing is, the pace is really, really high, and if you don't improve, then you're just lagging behind, and then there's no way you can keep up. So in that sense, really, and that's what I'm telling now during interviews, our potential new BDRs and account executives. I mean, you really need to be prepared to do a lot of things at the same time, and you need to be able to work under high pressure. So the salesperson in general, as I see it right now, is really a really complex figure in a company. You need to be able to gather good feedback as well and channel it, which actually, for example, personally, I find that very difficult to do, and because being able to channel that feedback properly into the product. So yeah, I mean, it's a complex thing to do, and at the same time, if we don't do well, the whole company doesn't do well. So yeah, it's high responsibility as well.
I see the same thing in Outbound that right now most of the customers actually have access to all kind of information. So you don't need to only do the old school push it role, as you mentioned, but actually you need to be a kind of a consultant and adjust what you're offering to this specific client and actually consult them, even if your solution is not the best solution for them. Which, by the way, turned out to be quite positive even for me, because quite often as a sales guy in Outbound, I'm directly saying to companies that are not fit for our service, hey guys, no point for us to move forward with this because it just doesn't make sense for you. Like either in terms of how you sell, what you sell, or in terms of the return on investment when it comes to the deal size. So, and this, by the way, turns out quite positively because people value honesty, and after that they may still prefer to work with you when it's the right moment, or they can recommend you. And at the end of the day, if you're good and you have the good karma, this get back to you.
To be honest, I completely agree, and this is
Yeah.
something I noticed during really 2020 and the beginning of this year as well. I mean, because as I mentioned, because the pace is very high, the workload is pretty big. Nobody has any time to lose, right? So actually, the more honest you are, and if you cut to the chase, no bullshit, this actually works better. And actually, this is an approach that we adopted in our outreach campaigns as well. Really, one sentence, literally, that's it. Are you in or not?
Yeah.
Simple as that. And trust me, this word performs way better than massive messages with I don't know, whatever information. They don't even care that we close the round. They don't even care what we do or whatever. If we are solving even a small bit of their problem, then it's conversation is on.
Definitely, like the old school long messages and how to say it, the Indian style is not working anymore for anybody. So definitely, you need to
Absolutely.
be short, sweet, and to the topic. And saying short, sweet, and to the topic, as I was saying in the beginning, we're trying to make this a short talk between us. Probably at some moment we can make a longer one, unofficially or officially during a beer. So thanks, Andrey, for the time and for sharing all the information. And I'm definitely looking forward to see more from Payhawk and how things will develop for you. And
Thank you, Zdravko, very much.
yeah, I'm sure it will be success, and hopefully this will be one of the biggest successes in this region.
Fingers crossed. Thanks again for having me, and I hope it's useful for everyone.
Thanks, Andrey.
Thanks.